So welcome to the 11 o'clock here at the Installer Show, and I'm really excited for this one because we are broadcasting live to the UK on Facebook today, and we're also filming for some fabulous content to help both sides of the pond encourage more skills to the trade. And that means education with a capital E. So I'm joined by Mark Conacher, installation expert, on my left here. And we have Eric Marshall, who's a doctor of closets. And we have Sharon L. Sherman. Sharon is the 2025 K&B Person of the Year. Really pleased to see Sharon again. And we have Mark Rosenhaus here, all the way from New York. The furthest to travel, bless him. And this is more from a design perspective, which we're really excited to see Mark again. And we have Matthew Betances here at the end. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us again. Wilson Matthew. And we're going to talk about the UK model in terms of trade apprenticeships, but I'd like to make a comparison with the US, and that's we have a nice varied panel here today. So I'm excited, guys. Okay. So just to give an introduction, so very briefly, so in the UK we have what we call a government standard, which are set criteria for different apprenticeships for the trade. It could be HVAC, it could be kitchen installation, bathroom installation, it could be design. And what I'm looking to do today is to really try and get from the panel some solutions. If we had a blank piece of paper, how can we encourage more people to train to our fabulous industry in construction?
Pay them more money. Just pay them more money.
Money is always a good thing. So I'm going to ask the panel to challenge each other, but I'm going to ask the panel also to focus on solutions rather than talking about, hey guys, we've got a problem. It's more about what are the solutions. We had a great conversation yesterday, and we're going to carry on the conversation today. So I'm going to start with Mark, and firstly, Mark, from a UK perspective, can you please give us the biggest cause, do you think, of a shortage of the skills gap in the UK market?
The shortage of the skills gap. So we don't have enough. We actually have young people wanting to come into the trades. They're coming from school. They're learning themselves. There's not a lot being spoken about at school. But they're now noticing that the trades are there. And the biggest problem we have is the businesses to take them on. That most of when I talk especially from an installation, kitchen and bathroom installation side of things, they are one-man bands, they're micro businesses, small businesses. And on all sorts of levels, it doesn't make sense for that business to take young people on. So for me, the solution to that is to help those businesses grow that little bit bigger so that they're more financially stable and in a position to be able to take those youngsters on and grow their business. They grow their business and help someone else get into the trades.
So Wilson, we're going to shake it up a little bit here. So you're now called Matthew, by the way, but Wilson. So we're going to ask the question, is there a shortage of people or is there a shortage of trained people?
There's definitely an interest coming into the skilled trades, especially here in the US base. Over and over again, we are going to see people, we're going to see people want to come into the skilled trades. Yet, what we're seeing is, just like what Mark touched on, we don't have enough current builders to attract and retain that next generation of builders. So what Mark said, he hit it on the head, because what we have to do is solidify the current builders, give them the tools, resources that they need so they can retain that workforce.
I think I'm going to bring Eric in because money is always a big factor. So in the UK we have what we call minimum wage for apprenticeships. So Eric, what's the solution in terms of remuneration for an apprentice?
I honestly think that I agree with both my colleagues that I've booked in. You guys are right. It goes deeper than that, and it goes farther than that. I'm going to go totally the opposite direction. I think it's the responsibility of the employer to make it inviting to become an employee at that company. And the kitchen bath industry, the HVAC industry, the construction industry in general has been ignoring their employees for quite some time. We don't have a lack of volunteers to work. We don't have a lack of business. We have a lack of bringing those people together. You've got to make it super cool to work there. If it's not fun to work there, why do I want to work there? I mean, it's more fun to work at McDonald's. I don't even get paid. Okay? At least they recognize me and give me a badge. Like, are we badging our guys up? Are we putting them in uniforms? Do we know what their favorite snack is? Is it inside the refrigerator at the office? Is there coffee? Is there a program that they have a future? Is there a retirement program? No. There's no retirement program. So what are we doing to these guys? We're letting them stay for 3 or 4 years. They get married. Their wife goes, hey, get the heck out of there. They're not taking care of you. And they go work at some corporate office. And it's the same pay. It's not as fun anymore, but they're secure because mama wants security. What's the number one reason a girl dates a guy? Security. Okay, number 2 is he's funny. He doesn't even have to look good. That's only about you ladies. And so when mama says, we're changing jobs, guess what he does? He changes jobs because she's the boss, okay? So we got to make it work together. We as employers need to make it a better fit for our employees.
So I guess, Eric, there's a statistic. So in the UK, possibly, I think it's now about 6 out of 10 apprenticeships actually succeed, but 4 fall to the wayside. And yesterday we had a conversation with Wilson about the same thing. I think they're 50% here. So Sharon, so in terms of who should be trained, in the UK we always talk about young people, but I understand in the States that you guys have a different opinion where potentially there's more success from an existing employee to upskill. Is that the truth?
Okay, I'm going to take a different track here. So, the contractors that I work with, first of all, as a designer, so I own an interior design firm. I work with a crew of contractors, a contractor who has a crew. For me, if I don't have good, skilled labor, no matter what I design, it's not going to look good. I need to have really good craftsmanship in every spot, from the foundations, excavations, into the framing, into the finishes, into the plumbing, into the electric. I am not so sure it's an employer problem, because my contractor, every single person that works for him has a 401k, they have insurance. My installers make $135 an hour. There are many white-collar workers that don't even come close to that. You can't even aspire to that. I happen to work in a luxury market. I'm very blessed to be as busy as I am. We have found our new incoming people, young guys. I'm using my plumber. He has 3 new young guys that have come on. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen them. We do interviews, we talk about what they're doing on the job. They're so meticulous in their pride and their craftsmanship that their work, even though it's rough plumbing, everyone thinks of rough plumbing and HVAC as beautiful. I have pictures of the beautiful work that they've done. In this country, what has started to happen is that it stopped being cool to be able to do things with your hands. I remember in the 90s when Norm from This Old House was the sexiest man alive. And everybody wanted to be like that. And you're talking about women that want some guy working. I'm going to tell you what, I always wanted to marry a guy that had a full set of tools and that could build anything that I wanted. And my kids, who are both, one is a law school graduate, one is a master's degree mechanical engineer, they took shop, they took welding, they took electric, they took plumbing because it was in our schools. And they were able to take that as an elective. That's gone away because everybody wants their kid to go to college and, become a finance person. I'm sorry, we're in New York City. They want somebody to be able to work in the financial aspect. They want somebody to be, become a C-suite member. My clients are C-suite members, I get it. But they didn't start there. They had a really good basic knowledge, working knowledge from school, even if it was a small education, and then they found a trade that they had a passion with. We need to reverse what's going on here and stop making kids who don't want to go to college feel bad that they're not going to college. It's okay to be able to build a piece of furniture. It's okay to know how to put cabinets in. It is okay to have your designer walk in and marvel at the beauty of the copper piping that you've put in the services room of the house. And that is where I think we have missed the boat. It's starting to turn, and our my installers are young. They're bringing young people in. A lot of us that are my age, because I'm much older than most of this panel, like our shoulders are shot. We cannot be picking up big heavy things anymore. So to have that generation that has worked in this industry a long time coming back to mentor, they want to do it. They want to be able to be there. Any of you guys that I'm looking at, that you have people working for you, bring them in, make them part of what's going on in your company. They're also going to bring different ways of doing things that you probably haven't thought about because you've done the same thing so many years in so many ways, where they have the advantage of technology and AI in some cases. They have a different way of thinking about problem solutions, and I think that's what's going to be the difference in whether it's the UK or the US or anywhere else in the world.
Sharon, just picking up something you said there, so you're talking about making working in the trade more sexy, really, aren't you? It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. There's nothing like somebody wearing a tool belt and a hard hat in my world. But I think that we need to be able to bring that back into the artisanal aspect of a home. I had somebody who used to do my wood floors. He called himself the Da Vinci of the floor. And he really was amazing with what he could do with wood floors. He made them sing. We're in a visual business. And so anybody who wears makeup, you can put on all the false eyelashes you want. If you don't have a good foundation, you're not looking good. Same thing with the clothes that we wear, right? I think the foundation, ladies, the foundation is what makes a difference. And it's the same thing in building and construction. It's the same way in the way we put our systems into our homes. And I think those are
Sharon, just to finalise on that point.
Not that I have any opinions.
So Sharon, we think we have probably a focus on young people in education and training people. Is it fair to say in the States you have a balance of both? You're trying to upskill existing workforces too. I know every state's slightly different, but what would you say the percentage
we
is?
do. I mean, I would say, like I look at my framers, and my framers are, they're probably all in their 40s,
Okay.
but they have a few young guys that are coming in that are really learning. It's like so if you've been in this business a long time, when air nailers came out. I remember when the first air nailer came out. I worked for a company with 20 carpenters. They used to fight over that air nailer. But when a new person came in, they were not allowed to touch mechanical equipment. They had to learn how to hammer a nail. And they went through the trial and error of hammering nails. And when they could do that well, then they were suddenly given this air nailer, and they thought this was the greatest thing in the world. But they had to learn the basics. And we have to go back to being willing to learn the basics and to have, again, the way maybe, I hate to say an older generation, because that's a more seasoned person.
Diversity.
Are you aware of the National Woods Board?
Do I do
The
what?
National Woods Board.
Do I?
Do you know of this?
No, I don't.
Okay, there's two associations actually that are doing this.
Invite
right now.
me.
The first one that you should know about is the WOW, Women of Woodworking.
That I do know.
Okay, and then there's a National Woods Board that's actually actively going into high schools right now and creating woodworking programs again.
It depends on where you are. Where I live in northern New Jersey. I'm in a pretty affluent area. They took away all of that.
BSC and Egger are both part of this, and they're actually funding these places into high schools in the U.S. right now.
I'm not sure it's the high schools that are a problem. It's the parents
No,
that
but
don't want their
it's
the
the
parents
training,
that don't want
yeah.
their kids taking the time to do that when they could be doing physics so that they can get into Cornell, or they should be on a swim team. I coach swimming for my kids are national young swimmers. They want their kids in a sport because that's going to look good on their college application.
But that's because there's nothing in the school to do these kind of trades anymore. You said it yourself.
And I think
Your older workers were in woodshop, just like me. I came from woodshop. I got into the woodworking industry right away from high school. I never went to trade school.
But the parents wanted the programs gone so they could bring in more
Guys,
calculus.
so bringing this
Bringing it
back to the comparison between UK and US. So Mark from New York, okay, we're not going to fit anything unless we can do some fantastic design work. What kind of training is there for somebody who wants to get into, say, your sector, which is kitchen design? What's the formal training that's available?
I would say that if they go through learning trade and become part of the contracting company, that they get into the understanding of what the homeowner is all about. It's not just putting a nail or a screw into a wall or putting pipes together or wires together. It's satisfying the customer to tell them that I'm doing this so you can have a fantastic house. And you're going to bring to the homeowner a sense of feeling good about who's in her house, or his house, their house, these phrases. And when you can instill an inner feeling that resonates. My designs have an inner feeling. If anybody knows what the Fibonacci series is and the golden ratio, it's all within our bodies. And once you know that, you can't go back. And once the contractor understands what I'm doing and sees it, they can have a greater sense of knowing what they're doing and feeling good about it. And they're feeling good shows the homeowner are feeling good, and everybody's happy about everything. And if you start in high school, getting to some sort of an apprentice program, yeah, I had shop when I was in high school, and they don't do that hardly anymore. But you get an apprentice program, get the kids out there for a little bit, and they start to work, and then you give them a little
So Mark, what I'm trying to get to is in the UK we have a official government standard. It's called a level 3 intermediate standard, which is based on the learning criteria of how to design a kitchen or a bath, yeah? So it probably varies by state, but what is the official documentation or standard that people can work on to get qualified?
As far as the trade goes, I'm more on the design side. I'm old school. I still use the pencil and the graph paper.
Do you want to come in, Eric, on this one?
Yeah, because that's the NKBA. They have so NKBA has a training program that you can become a registered, certified, and master designer through the NKBA. That's all accreditation. The Closet Association has a national registered, certified designer, also a registered installer program. The Trim Carpet Association, the Woodwork Association has those programs. All those programs exist in the U.S. still. Yeah.
So the NKBA is the main vehicle
For
learning.
kitchens.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
I'm with you. So Mark, bring Mark in here. So Mark from the UK. So Mark, in terms of installation, what is the typical learning journey of a UK installer?
Well, now that they're bringing in these programs for actually being specifically for a kitchen or bathroom installer, the programs are relatively new. That teaching this is taking your apprenticeship as a kitchen installer. It's really fundamental being what I was a joiner or a carpenter. That's where you really start, and that's sometimes yes, it's great to niche down into something, but when you come to something like construction and you're working in someone's home, I think it does pay to have that wider view of everything that's going on in that house, from the plumbing to electrics to and joinery as well. So when we niche down into kitchens and bathrooms, what happens when you rip that old kitchen out and the floor, the joists underneath are rotting, there's dry rot in there. What does that kitchen fitter do? Oh my God, what he needs to call in a joiner. I mean, they served his time for 4 years and did all sorts of construction. So that's a little bit concerning as to when we niche down, where does that end up down the line? But yeah, you know what? It's getting out there. It's getting our hands on the tools, and but being certified in your trade, that's really important. There are no really in the UK. There's no rules or regulations. Anybody could be a plumber. Call themselves what you like. You go out and you don't know who's coming into your house, and that's why organisations like the British Institute of Physical Interior Specialists.
So being certified, Sharon, you're about to come in.
Yeah, so here in the thing in the United States, it's a little different. Is every state has a different rule, right? But there are national universal code standards. So for an electrician who wants to be able to work as an electrician, before you can take the licensing exam, you do have to work, so you have to have training. So that's
A journeyman.
yeah, that sort of comes in under that umbrella. Same thing with a plumber. I, as an interior designer, I'm a certified licensed interior designer. So yes, I've gone to school. Yes, I have education, but I also had to pass a pretty darn hard to pass test. So I think that's really where the development starts to come in. And again, we've lost the stigma of being in a trade is not what you want to do. So I do see more and more younger age people coming in, but I also have people that are coming out of other jobs. A friend of mine worked as a carpenter when he was younger. He decided to become a police officer. So he has finished his tenure of 20 years, and now he's starting to work again. And he's brought his son in. So they do work for me. So here's somebody that I knew in his 20s. He's now in his 50s. And he's like, I'm not putting in some of those 10-foot high cabinets that you designed, Sharon, but I will, we'll come back, we'll work, we'll build scaffolding. And he's now teaching his son. So I think it's an old-fashioned concept that we are going back into, because design is really about storytelling, whether it's building the house, understanding every aspect of how a house is built, but the house builds a story and the team is all part of the story that we're telling.
So what we're going to do now, thank you Sharon for that. So starting with Wilson, we're going to have a quick fire session now. So if you, Wilson, could name one thing that would over-communicate that would be a solution to attract more people to the construction industry, what would it be? We'll go down the line.
I think everybody hit it on it when they were talking about giving that roadmap, showcasing what the trades have to offer.
Communication.
Exactly.
So Mark?
Have all the contractors go to any kind of fair, shopping mall, ball game, in high school relevance, so that we can show that there's actually an industry that you can get into, that you don't have to go through 4 years of college, and you can start right away, and you can show them exactly some of the great things that get done, and increase their understanding and the positive understanding of what is going on.
Sharon?
I think there has to be a pathway, because I think there's a desire. So if there's a clear pathway of how do you find an electrician that you want to learn from? How do you find a carpenter? If you don't have it in school, I think having some sort of a very succinct, this would be good for you to create, sorry, something else for you to do, but to create a roadmap of where do you start? Who do you contact first? Who do you contact next? How do you start working?
It's the not knowing, that's the problem. Eric?
I just want to go skateboarding. Just kidding.
Everyone gets a free skateboard.
I think there's a lot of, I don't think that young people actually have a plan when they come. I mean, all of my kids with the college changed through college what they wanted to do. And I paid for the college so they wouldn't have to have a bill at the end, because I think that's terrible. I think you bring them into the world, you should just take care of them until they've got something going on. So that lasts till 45, I guess I'm still going to pay for myself till he's 50, I don't know. But this is all out there. We do have the National Board of Woods. We do have a plumbing association. We do have electrical association. We do have a kitchen association. We do have a closet association. Those things already in line. We have ROCs at most of the states. Not all of our states have ROCs. And the ROCs are the testing program for when you've been a journeyman to figure out what you want to do. I don't know what the real answer is. Maybe it's the installer show. Maybe I'm selling out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Mark, what's the one thing that we could do to encourage?
I think things like the Installer Show are great for encouraging
Top
people
answer,
into the trades, what's available. But things when we look at, see Lee there, the Peaky Plumber, social influence and mentorship, and young people can, everybody uses social media, but people like that are standing out in their trade.
Influencers,
And it's not about having hundreds of thousands of followers, but it's just, they're attractive in what they do. They're standing out, they're being different, and that's what young people are looking at, especially when they're getting on TikTok. And that draws people in as to there's something else out there.
That's a great answer. One of the things I'd like to drill down to, guys, is it's come up there a couple of times about education. So in the UK, it's pretty much down to a local business if they want to go into a school or a college and shout about apprenticeships. How does that work across the pond here? Whose responsibility is it to go into education? And can we start with yourself, Wilson? Whose responsibility to go in and talk about the fantastic trades?
So when it comes to the education, Department of Labor nationwide handles all of that. Each state has their own codes, applications, and standards when it comes to each specific trade. For example, like it was touched on, journeyman, 8,000 hours, 750 classroom hours that you need. So that varies from state to state. Massachusetts, one of the hardest states, is 600 hours, 600 classroom hours, 8,000 on the field hours, but then they make you go back to school for your master's license. So everyone's in the same ballpark, around 750 classroom hours. On top of that, each individual trade has their own association that you can take. You can take a union apprenticeship program, or you can take a merit shop apprentice program. So if there's a roadmap, yes, there is. It's already established. There's multiple associations helping you. At the end of the day, it's company sponsored in the trade specific.
So Wilson, is it specifically associations that go into education to talk about apprenticeships, or is it business?
No, it's company-sponsored programs. Who's going to give that opportunity?
So just explain a little bit about, for those watching back in the UK, what does a company-sponsored apprenticeship mean?
So a company-sponsored apprenticeship program is when the company, the owner of the company, is going to sponsor their employees to go through the approved curriculum. So that could be 4 years for electrical in some states. Some states require 5 years. That's through plumbing, HVAC, electrical, you name it. There is a structured program where the Department of Labor says you have to go over X, Y, Z. That program now gives you that credits that you can now apply with your company work hours for your journeyman and master electrician's license.
So can I ask the panel, have any of you been into education to talk about trade apprenticeships? Sharon, do you want to explain, give us an example?
So for me, I consider being a designer a trade. I know it sounds a little weird, and the interior designer that heard me say that would hate me, but I take on interns. So kids coming out of design school, I get resumes from them. They say, I would like to intern with you for the summer. And they really learn mainly the construction aspect, because that's the one thing they're not learning in school. They spend the first 2 weeks with me. I say, you're going to sit on a spackle bucket on one of my job sites. And they watch everything that's going on. They work with my installers, so they start to learn. Because they're learning design in school. I don't need to teach them that. But they do need the fundamentals. But design schools that I then go and speak to, it's the same thing. I said, maybe you don't want to be a designer. Maybe you want to be a workroom. A work trade is another workroom. So there are other ways that you can be involved in the design industry and the build industry without just hammering nails or doing plumbing. There are other really important parts. Technology, there's a gal here I was talking to before about technology. It's another whole system that is a possibility to go into the home. Again, I know that these programs are available, but it's really getting into the schools, and I speak in schools about what it is to do what I do. So that sparks the interest, so then they can start to learn how to find the pathways. Because most kids are not going to think, let me go look at some big company, I'll type on the computer, I'll enter into the computer. Is there a big company out there that has a journeyman thing? No, they're going to look at some cool guy on TikTok that's doing plumbing, or there's JC Tiling in New Jersey. He's all over the Instagram. That's where they're going to find these guys. They're like, that looks so cool. That's what I want to do. And I think that's the problem with trying to reach people that be interested.
So Sharon, we're looking for a solution here. This is all about solutions today, right? Sharing smart advice. So let's say you've been into a school, you've had a conversation, or as Wilson said there, associations going in and shout about apprenticeships and talk about the options. But Mark, back in the UK, if we've done all that and someone says, do you know what, yeah, I'd love to be installer, kitchen installer, but then finding the business who will take somebody on.
The problem.
And then in the UK we get a common pushback that says, do you know what, if I take somebody on and train that person, there's a potential they'll leave and become my competitor. Mark, is there a solution around this?
It's again, well, when we talk about the UK, using a big paintbrush, since we're speaking about trades, it's probably 80-20 split of sole trader, very small micro businesses that are installing. Someone's having a good time. That's installing kitchens and bathrooms. So they're sole traders, 1 or 2 people, and this is the problem. The training side in the UK is all paid for from the college in various different ways, but so the training's not an issue. We're looking at the salary of an apprentice, minimum wage, all of that came into the equation. And I've always said that the government could pay that salary as well. It still wouldn't make any difference to that sole trader because he's not big enough. We need to look to help these businesses just grow that little bit bigger. And because of the talk about there's not enough young people, and it's an aging skill force that we have in the trades, that these guys really should be looking for routes to get off the tools if they can, and then start giving back and teaching and being able to do that without any stress of financial implications to his life. Because if you have a sole trader and he's earning, put any figure you like on it, but let's just say it was $1,000 that he was getting every week, and he was installing one kitchen a week. If he brings on an apprentice, he now has to, what does he do? Does he install that kitchen in a week? Or does he take a week and a half because he's spending more time with that guy? But he has the outgoings of the salary, he has the loss of money because he's not in a week and a half. That's it. When you're a one-man band and you've got a mortgage to pay at the end of the month, that's a problem. So making your business that little bit bigger so that it gives you that wiggle room, and that's really helpful for young people to be able to attract young people into your business.
Thank you very much. So Eric, in terms of your sector, which is closets, we call wardrobes, storage solutions, what kind of things have you coached or you advised your clients over the years on how to upskill? What have you been doing?
Additional sales and also training new people. This past year I've already opened 35 new companies. Last year we did 175 new closet companies. Like, I'm constantly opening new businesses. That's what the Closet Training Institute does. We focus on number 1, product lines, number 2, sales, number 3, installations, which, as I said on the earlier session, I think the installer is the most important salesperson in the home. They're the last ones there. They need all the training. We have a full training program about how to do woodworking and install and teach a customer properly. That's what I do for a real living. The traveling all over the world, and like, I thought this was going to be how do you go around the world, right? That's just for fun. But it leads me to more places like this, to more people I get to talk to more solutions, to more products, because products lead to sales, sales lead to installations. So.
That's fantastic. So that's growth, isn't it? That's encouraging growth. And what percentage do you think, let's say you have 100 employees in a US came to the business, Sharon, what percentage do you think is the current percentage for someone who's learning of 100% in an average across the US? How many apprenticeships are there in an average company? We call it the 5% club. Someone's got 5% of the workforce.
Probably 5 to 10%.
That's a good thing.
5 to 10%.
5 to 10%.
I think probably sounds about right. Again, you've got all these pathways are available, but it's how are you reaching the people that are going to want to step on the path, right? And that's really marketing. So you're asking for a solution. It's really about marketing. You can have lots of companies. If you're not marketing to bring people in to work for you, you're not going to have the company, right? So I think the most important route is to find how to market to these, I don't even want to say kids anymore, to anybody that's interested, right? Your age, my age, I don't know if we're going to start over again, but we might. That I think is what's most important. Reaching the people, it's like selling any product. Having the right tagline, having the right story, having the right hook to get them interested. Once they're interested, how do you then convert them into being part of it? And that's what's important.
So I think what we'd like to do, guys, is to talk about a case study, because people can learn from case studies. So has anybody on the panel got a really good story they'd like to share where they've taken a young person from A to B to C and they've been super successful? You want to go first, Wilson?
I don't want to staple myself, but here in New York City, this is where I grew up in Queens. So how many people in the audience right now are from New York City? What boroughs are you guys from? We got Queens, Brooklyn. How many of you went through high school in the city? None? You? What school did you go to? I can't hear you. James Madison. Okay. So true or not, and how old are you? 20. So recently, when you went and applied for high school, did they still give you that big book and they tell you which school do you want to go to, or is it online now? How do they go about it? You go online and you have to apply to a school. New York City, true or not, we still have vocational high schools. I myself went to Thomas A. Edison High School down here in Queens, where they still have shop class. You have Queens Vocational, you have Manhattan Tech. So in New York City, we still have those trade schools. So when I went through at 14, and graduated at 18. I already had my classroom hours. Then I went straight into the union workforce. At 18 years old, since we went through approved technical training, at the union, they said, hey, you get your journeyman rate if you finish schooling. I said, I already finished my schooling, and I showed them the certificate. So at 18 years old, I'm making $65 an hour, unheard of, in the union, as an apprentice. So everyone's like, who do you know? What did you do? What was the hack? And it happened to be going through a vocational high school. So now with that in mind, having my journeyman card at 18 in the union, I just had to work 2 years before I got my license. And I was the youngest electrical license holder in Connecticut because New York City is too difficult. Moved over just 30 minutes down the road, jumped into Stanford and applied for my master electrician's license, opened up my own business. So what I'm trying to say is this pathway is already available for you. There's many schools out there that still, I know a lot of states vary, but there's opportunities right now that you could jump into with the trades, get ahead, because the typical average person jumping into the trades is going to start at 18 because they don't want to go to college. If you go through a vocational high school, you're getting all those certifications at 14. So that's even before. So while everyone's now going to school after work to catch up, you're already making overtime at 18, at 65 plus, at double time. You just see how everything starts compounding. So my focus is we have to now figure out how to retain those. You asked for a case study. The case study here in the U.S. is we have 165,000 people leaving the apprentice program per year, with 300,000 joining every year. So every year, 300,000 come into the workforce. We're losing 50%. And respectfully, I don't think we have to market it as cool because that attic in mid-July.
What's the solution? So there's the problem. We have exactly the same problem
Exactly.
in the UK. What is the solution to retain people?
I think you mentioned it when we have to show the roadmap. Because we can say it's not
Expectations
cool.
from both sides.
Exactly. It's not cool coming in. You're going to be doing the grunt work, but is it worth it? That's where you may be the ugly guy talking to the girl, but if you say, girl, I'm going to take care of you, now she has something to look forward to, and then you'll win her over.
That's fabulous. I'm looking for, Eric, a specific example of an individual that's gone from A to B, and what was the success?
So I just spoke at the NKBA 3 weeks ago now. I presented 4 different case studies of people that got into business, went through training, got certified with the ROC, got a business license, started up a business. What you're looking for was case study number 2. Is a guy in Dallas, Texas. He was an Indian kid of heritage. He had graduated from college, opened up, no kidding, a pot store in Dallas. He got a business degree. He hated it. He wanted to do something different. He was looking around. He started looking the trades. He found out that closets is a super fast growing market. He got into the closet business. His first year, he did $200,000. Year 2, he did $680,000. This past year, he closed at $1.2 million. He's 24 years old. He's already banking like a bunch of money. He's already hired another designer now because at $1 million, you can't sell and install everything you're doing at $1 million. So he's already hired a designer, and now he's hired another kid out of the National Woods Board to come on and be an installer for him. And that's the kind of things we want to see, and that's the growth you want to see where they're growing enough where they can actually hire somebody.
How do we then communicate that fabulous example there? It's exactly what I think Wilson mentioned earlier. It's about how do we communicate that success to encourage more people to get involved?
Raise your prices. Heck yeah, raise the price. And prove that you have not just a commodity, but a real skill. It's like, why should a handbag cost $15,000? And, fish at, $3 a pound or something like that. If you're that good, or you've got that much business, put yourself up there.
So Mark, in the States, do interior designers and retailers typically charge for their designs?
I think most people are charging a design fee, so they'll do preliminary conversations, and come up with a ballpark idea on how much it's going to cost, charge a fee based on that, which to me goes towards the purchase of the cabinetry. The thing is to take yourself past the big box stores and prove how much better you are and how much, not only you, but your whole organization, so that you're going to charge more. Because
Value what you do, that's what you say.
What's that?
Value what you do.
Yeah, and there's such a problem with everybody undercutting the next guy, and until the homeowner realizes that they got screwed.
Okay, so exactly on investment, and let's talk about this back into apprenticeship. So in the UK, the government will fund 100% of the tuition training for an apprenticeship. The UK government will also give a small incentive to buy equipment, that sort of thing, okay? And all that's required, go back to the point earlier about what's expected from both sides, is that the company, or the SME as we call it, will have to pay a wage. So I'm really keen to understand the US market in terms of who's investing in apprenticeships, how does it work? Now, I'm keen to understand, is there a tax benefit for a business to hire, this is a question to the panel, is there a tax benefit to hire an apprentice? Who wants to answer that question?
Not my business.
100%. Yeah. You could actually get an intern into your business and get the government to pay his full salary in the U.S. 100%.
Wow, that is very
Okay,
special.
not in New Jersey. You have to pay their
I
salary.
mean, that's breaking news, that really. If that's the case, so is there an example?
Just work with the labor board will actually do it. We've done it in 4 different states already. It's available through everybody. It's a federal funding, not a state funding.
I mean, this is breaking news. I was never aware of this. And if that's the case, I mean, that's fabulous. That should be communicated.
It is. If you go to Bespoke Closets in Detroit, the owner there has actually published all this stuff. It's on her Instagram. You go to Bespoke Closets. She's got 2 interns working for her right now. One is 100% paid. The other one's already been through his 4 years, so now he's being paid and installing, and he runs his own crew. Like all these stuff it's all over the internet. It's all there. But I guess I spend too much time scrolling.
Do you want to come in, Sharon? That's a revelation to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know in New Jersey, if I take on an intern, I'm required to pay their salary. I have to pay all of the taxes as if they were a regular employee. Maybe it's something if it's a larger business, maybe I'm too small of a business, but I think the other part of a lot of this is a lot of our internships and journeymen beyond, working for a union and things like that, start in a small business. Small businesses are the ones that are bringing people in and are trying to train people to understand where they're moving forward. Your business model is very different. You're a larger firm. I'm a small firm. I only do $2 million a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's just me. So, the way that we do business is a little bit different. And I think that's the thing in the U.S. Everybody does business different. You asked how do designers charge. I teach designers. There are so many different methods that designers use to get paid. And I think that in many times becomes a confusing part of how everyone does business. So maybe that is a system that's out there that I'm not aware of. In many cases, if you're too small of a business, you don't qualify for a lot of these programs either. You have to have a certain number of employees, you have to have a certain location. So that could be different as well.
And to raise the profile of people who are learning and have succeeded, we have back in the UK, Mark, we have awards, don't we, for people that have shown commitment and have shown that they can be inspiration to others. So in the US market, what kind of awards are there available for someone to get involved in to be, let's say, I'm a winner. Let's shout about that winner. Who would like to answer that one?
Well, a lot of the shows and trade associations have their own graduation ceremony at the end of the year. Another big one this year, for example, what's coming up, and I know a few people are going to, is Skills USA. So Skills USA has a tournament across all 50 states where each trade gets to compete, and they have a championship round. So they have an award ceremony going on. Each individual trade, like NICA has their own, then you have IEC, then you have ABC chapter schools. All these different trade associations have some way, shape, or form to gamify coming into the trades. And then individual people with their own individual social media will put up their content of the work that they do, and then that just gets the same traction.
Did you you want to come in there, Mark?
Well, I could only specifically speak for trade, speaking about the UK, and it is important. These are great tools, but it comes down to, you know what, you could win an award for whatever, unless you use that through marketing and for tradespeople, marketing's not really, nobody's talking about that. Yes, we have TikTok sensations and we have, people on Instagram, things like that, but for your Joe average tradesman, yeah, he may, in the UK, I don't know, the UK's a little bit more cynical and sees these things as false, or it's just, just peacocking, and it's not necessary, but it's a great tool. I just don't know that your Joe average tradesman would use it. They would win it, and that would be the end of it. They wouldn't know how to deal with the marketing and the build-up of being a finalist for anything like that, then winning it, and in the aftermath of how to use that to position yourself to your customers, to, you know what, this industry is recognising me that I'm doing something slightly different. Am I the best designer? Am I the best plumber in the world? No, you're not, but it's showing that you're doing something different, you're trying and standing out amongst your peers. It is important.
So guys, construction is absolutely huge, whether it's HVAC or K&V. So for the panel, do you think that manufacturers who supply the products could play a bigger part in education? Who'd like to answer that? Wilson, you're nodding away. We'll come to you, Mark, second.
What I love about the distributors, manufacturers, is that they're starting to incentivize. They're creating their own grant programs here in the U.S. Correct. Like we have organizations like 3M.
Is this about their specific products, or is it more generalization?
More generalization,
That's fantastic to me.
understanding that we need more installers, we need more electricians, plumbers, HVACs to come into the trades so that they can now sell their products too. So they're looking and sponsoring a lot of these new organizations.
Business coaching too, that's the kind of thing.
Exactly. Training. They actually host trainings at their own suppliers, at their own supply distributors now.
Mark?
You look around all these products here, they're all very modern. And I think kids think that putting a cabinet on a wall or hooking up plumbing in a sink is old-fashioned. But if you can get them to see the positive, the new side, it gives them an incentive that the job is not going to fall by the wayside. You've got things to learn and keep going.
Sharon, have you got any examples of manufacturers supporting training?
I don't really have manufacturers, but my contractors, they work with, and this is my plumber, my electrician, and my GC, they work with a local lumberyard, and that lumberyard actually has 2 6-month programs, and all my guys are all involved in this, where they have local schools that kids can apply to. They've gone to the schools first, and schools now can apply to be part of this team, and I think it's a 20-person team. They do it twice a year, where they're actually doing construction projects, building things that local companies need, or maybe it's some housing developments that are going on in our areas. So they all come in, they get to work on it. They're taught how to use the tools. They're taught how to work with the manufacturer, with the product. Many times we have to go back and redo it again because they're all learning. But it gives them hands-on experience, so they can actually say, yes, I've worked on a job site. That's all volunteer-driven, though. But I think that's kind of like the grassroots concept of what's going on in this country, to start having people start to be able to have a hands-on experience in a trade. Maybe not as smart as you were to figure out at 14 to go to a trade school, because most of the trade schools in our area have closed. There's only one, and it's really hard to get into. So I think I love the idea of a grassroots concept where we're starting to train kids so they can see the light to maybe find something they're passionate about.
Well, guys, a really good question I'd like to ask you. So, people say that particularly young people are on different social media platforms. So we've got a lot of the trade press here today. So where do you think, or are we not doing what we should be doing, putting this information in the right social media places? So how many, TikTok adverts do you see, or case studies for an apprenticeship? What are we seeing? Or aren't we seeing?
Case studies on TikTok? Probably not. But, there may be.
Are we making this industry more
I know
aware?
one actually. So case study number 5 at KBiz last week was about Dominic. friend of mine. He's not a client. He's in Las Vegas. I see you all are at least on your phones or writing something down. You're going to write this down. LV Closet Design. Go to Instagram, check it out. The kid's 30 years old. He's running a multi-million-dollar design company. He started as a closet designer, but now he's doing whole home remodelings. He does $500,000, $1 million contracts in Las Vegas now. Some of the most beautiful stuff you'll ever see is going to be on his Instagram. You'll flip out, like pink padded walls inside of closets. And he started as a designer. He's 30. He's killing it now. I'm sure he's upwards of probably 20 million. I mean, it's not public, so he's not going to say, but you can tell. And he's got 4 brand ambassadorships, same kind of brands that I'm working with, because I'm a brand ambassador for 7 different brands. And those guys are paying me to put it on my Instagram so you can see what's going on. And those are the kind of things that are working.
Yeah, so maybe then, I mean, this is a good thing for the UK market to maybe take on board, Mark. But maybe we need more influencers that hit the spot.
Yeah, showcasing what's possible is absolutely should be out there. And the more we talk about it, the more we put it all out there for what's possible for young people, and showing the young people who are succeeding. If we have an apprentice that's gone through his time and there's where he's started, and follow his journey, here's where he started, here's where he ended up, and look where he's going now. And he's off like a rocket. That's inspiring.
Perfect. So we're taking a couple of questions, if we can, from the audience to finalise today's session. So I think it'd be great to get somebody from the audience that perhaps has been through a learning programme would like to ask a question.
What about the 20-year-old man over there?
Absolutely. Would you like to ask the panel a question? Right, so we've got a great question here. So the question is,
do you have any tips for getting an entry job without just graduated and got my universal license in HVAC?
okay, so the question was, do we have, panel, any tips for getting a first job after graduation?
What did you pick up trade-wise, or are you looking for anything? HVAC. I could talk to you afterwards. I got companies in Brooklyn right now.
We've got some free private mentoring coming up.
Someone's going to scoop you up in a heartbeat, HVAC, trust me, because there's not a lot of people out there working in it.
You see the 5-minute countdown, right?
Any more questions? Thank you, Mark.
Hi, so from the UK, recently settled in the US. I changed career midway through my career back in the UK. So 25 years in IT, changed into HVAC. What support would there be, or tips for guys or girls, men and women who want to get into the trade a little later in their life? They've found inspiration from something like this.
Go get a job wherever that kid's getting a job.
And we actually just made a video on that just hit 1.2 million on YouTube. We asked individuals, what is the benefit of coming into the trades now? And so many said, I can't make a living off of the starting rate. Yet on the vice versa end, the other side of the coin, we have individuals saying, I'm doing a career change because I know it will be worth it in 2, 3, 4 years when you make top dollar. You understand that? So as long as you're coming in with that intent of getting that journeyman license, getting that master license, you're going to recoup everything you lost in the first 2 years by investing into that training.
And I hate to say it, with the number of natural disasters that are going on, anybody that has any skill in any trade is insured of having work forever. Because everybody's house starts to break down, whether it's a toilet that doesn't flush, whether it's a roof that leaks, whether it's a tree that falls on somebody's house. You are insured to have work. And I think that should be the most important thing to remember, especially somebody that can do HVAC. I love my HVAC guys. I drive them crazy, but what they can do to be able to bring wellness into a home, and you have to start thinking yourselves, it's not just doing trade things. Wellness is a big thing. Water, sound, light, air. Those things are very, very, very important to everybody. And you guys are the purveyor of that. So you're the purveyor of health and wellness.
Well said, Sharon. So we're coming to the end of the session, guys. So just in summary, I think it's been a really interesting comparison. There's a few revelations that came out of that little talk there. But I think for me it's all about this cliche word communication and basically putting the message out there. So I want to thank InstallerSHOW for allowing this opportunity, and can we please show our appreciation to the panel. Thank you very much.